On March 1, 1968, a unit of 33 North Vietnamese soldiers from the 41st Special Forces, under the command of 2nd Lieutenant Trong Muc, began their march to the assembly point. No contact with locals, no engagement with enemy patrols. Operational silence was absolute. On steep jungle terrain, their pace did not slow. Their formation did not break. These were not conscripts. They were men who had been selected, trained, and hardened specifically for this mission. By 2053, on March 10th, all 33 had reached the base of the North Cliff. Final equipment check: RPG launchers, ammunition, rope, combat knives. Nothing extra. One soldier relaced his boots. Another rubbed dirt into his palms, eliminating sweat before gripping rock. By this point, Lima Site 85 was already encircled. 3,000 PAVN and Pathet Lao troops held the perimeter. The base had no way out. The 41st were the knife at the throat. Under the 1962 Geneva Accords, no foreign power was permitted to conduct military operations on its soil. That was the agreement on paper. The reality was different. North Vietnamese forces were pouring troops and supplies southward through Laos via the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The United States could not allow it, but could not officially intervene. So they didn't do it officially. The CIA-trained Hmong guerrilla fighters operated a front airline called Air America and sheep-dipped military personnel, stripping them of rank and reclassifying them as civilian contractors. History would call this the Secret War. It was a war fought by people who, officially, were not there. In northeastern Laos, 24 kilometers from the Vietnamese border, stood Phou Thi, a mountain sacred to the local Hmong people, rising 1,768 meters above sea level. In 1966, the U.S. Air Force decided to build a secret installation at its summit. The project was codenamed Heavy Green. Externally, it was known as Lima Site 85, or LS-85. At its core was the AN/TSQ-81 radar bombing guidance system, operation codenamed Commando Club. This system allowed U.S. aircraft, including F-105 Thunder Chiefs and F-4 Phantoms, to strike targets in North Vietnam at night and in all weather conditions. The need was urgent. During the northeast monsoon season, the skies over Hanoi were clear for only 4 to 5 days per month. Without this radar, bombing campaigns ground to a halt. From November 1967 to March 1968, LS-85 guided 55% of all airstrikes against North Vietnam and the Ho Chi Minh Trail. The base was staffed by 16 Air Force technicians, reclassified as Lockheed aircraft employees, 2 CIA officers, and 1 forward air controller. Legally, none of them were soldiers. They could not be. Laos was neutral. By 1967, North Vietnamese forces had seized Laotian government positions near Phou Thi. The threat was escalating. Despite this, U.S. political constraints prevented any reinforcement of the site's defenses. January 12, 1968, 1 p.m. 4 Soviet-built Antonov An-2 biplanes approached Lima Site 85. Designed in the 1940s, these slow-propeller aircraft had been converted into makeshift bombers, dropping 120mm mortar shells through holes cut in their fuselage floors and firing rockets from wing pods. Air America pilot Captain Ted Moore was inbound in a Bell 212 helicopter when he spotted them. His reaction was immediate. Moore pushed his unarmed helicopter alongside the first AN-2. His flight mechanic, Glenn Woods, leaned out the side door and opened fire with an AK-47 assault rifle. One AN-2 went down into the tree line. The second crashed shortly after. It entered the record books, the first and only time in history a helicopter shot down a fixed-wing aircraft in air-to-air combat. It was also the CIA's first aerial victory. But the attack had made one thing clear. North Vietnam knew exactly where Lima Site 85 was. The assault was no longer a question of if, only when. February 1968. The Tet Offensive erupted across South Vietnam. The Marine base at Khe Sanh was under siege. American attention was locked south. The PAVN 41st Special Forces Unit used that window. Over months, they had conducted 11 reconnaissance missions around Phou Thi, analyzing approach routes and defensive positions. The route they selected was the one the U.S. Embassy itself had declared impossible. The sheer north face, near vertical limestone cliff, no established path, no cover. The defense of Lima Site 85 was in the hands of 2 CIA paramilitary officers, commanding roughly 1,000 Hmong fighters, 200 on the ridgeline, 800 in the valley below, reinforced by a Thai Border Patrol Police Battalion. March 10, 6 p.m. 3 PAVN battalions, approximately 3,000 troops, opened artillery and infantry assaults on the southeastern slope. A diversion. The Hmong and Thai defenders turned to face it. Past midnight, the 41st scaled the north cliff. Rope and bare hands. 47 minutes. No sound, no detection. At 3 a.m., radio contact with the radar station went silent. RPG rounds destroyed the primary facilities. The Air Force technicians, armed with M16 rifles and grenades, fought back. They were radar operators, not infantry. The outcome was not in doubt. PAVN Assault Force, approximately 3,000/US personnel on summit, 19/defenders alerted to north face, 0. Chief Master Sergeant Richard Etchberger, he took up his M16 and held off the advancing enemy alone, while pulling wounded colleagues one by one to the helicopter evacuation sling. Staff Sergeant John Daniel had taken 2 rounds in his legs. He was sheltering among the bodies of the dead when Etchberger reached him and loaded him into the sling. Daniel lost consciousness. When he came to inside the helicopter, he was told Etchberger was dead. He couldn't believe it. He hadn't been injured. He hadn't been shot. How is he dead? Etchberger had loaded 4 men into the sling before climbing in himself. He was hit as he boarded. He died aboard the helicopter. His Air Force Cross was awarded posthumously, but classified. His family was told nothing. His sons did not know how their father died. On September 21, 2010, President Barack Obama presented the Medal of Honor to Etchberger's 3 sons at a White House ceremony, 42 years after his death. Of the 12 U.S. Air Force personnel on the summit, 11 were killed or went missing. 1 survived. The Hmong and Thai defenders suffered heavy losses. PAVN Special Forces casualties were minimal. U.S. aircraft were dispatched immediately to destroy what remained: equipment, documents, every trace. Then came the silence. Because it had happened in officially neutral Laos, the U.S. government said nothing. Families of the dead were given no explanation. Some of the men had their military records erased entirely. Their families denied survivor benefits for years. The battle appeared in an official Air Force history in 1977, but the radar mission was omitted. A 56-page classified after-action report had been written in August 1968. It wasn't declassified until 1988. In 2005, the remains of several American personnel were recovered from a narrow rock ledge 160 meters below the summit. The enemy had thrown the bodies from the cliff. The Defense POW/MIA Accounting Agency continues recovery operations to this day. Lima Site 85, a battle fought by men who were officially not soldiers, in a war that officially did not exist, in a country that was officially at peace. The mountain remembers. For a long time, nothing else was allowed to.